Hello, this is Dr. Brian McDonough, and welcome to the new normal. First of all, thanks to all of you who have said so many nice things about this. Normally, I'm recording these things before I head into the hospital or after. I'm usually dealing with COVID patients because there are just so many in the world right now. It's an issue, but we're doing well, and we hope to continue doing well. But of course, the biggest treatments come on the front end. What you can do to help protect you and your family. That, like everything else in healthcare, makes things easier if we don't have the problem in the first place. So that's why today I want to talk a little bit about CNN and Fox. It's a little longer than my normal segment, but it's important we talk about it. Understand the business model of television. As someone who worked in television for many years, I worked in news and provided healthcare reports. And a big part of doing a healthcare report was having both sides of the story. So it was hard. I'd go out, let's say a story about a new drug for heart disease, and I would talk about the pros and the cons. And I would have to get a doctor to talk about pros, a doctor to talk about the cons. And usually we had a patient who was struggling through a battle to tell a nice story. It would be about 1.5 to 2.5 minutes on tape, but it could take 8 hours to record and even longer than that to produce. And it was hard. It was expensive, but it was good. And that's how every story was done. And it was really important that things were done that way. Now, what happened over time is that as there were more and more television stations, a lot of local TV stations lost viewership in the news. Because think about it, there's 100, 200, 300 stations, and on top of that, you have the internet, and now we're at the point we have cell phones, we have everything. In fact, someone like me, many of us, all you have to do is look at YouTube, can do what used to cost millions of dollars, have their own show, their own forum. It's great, actually, in many respects. But here you are and you're CNN and you are the world leader in news. How the heck do you compete? I mean, you got these bureaus all over the world. It's hundreds of millions of dollars and you're basically hemorrhaging money. Well, what you realize is if you do things in a studio that's entertainment based, you can get just as many, if not more viewers, and they've learned they can sometimes get more, by doing things much less expensively. Fox Television was created at a time period when I was actually in my last 5 years at Fox, and they were building slowly with a little bit of a news item type of a feature show, but they also were going with the entertainment. So Fox and CNN kind of were born in this new age, which is now the present age, of entertainment. Entertainment and ratings. You have to understand ratings. Ratings drive advertising revenue. So the better your ratings, the more advertising you get. The more advertising you get, the more money you make, the more things you can do. So what Fox and CNN do is they hire dramatic talent, actors per se, who are under the guise of news. Or they've taken news people and now opened them up and said, hey, you can give your opinion on things because opinions drive ratings. Well, it gets even more, and I'm not going to use the word sinister because it's a business model. But it gets even more intense than that because now what has happened is Fox grabbed onto the conservative base. CNN has leaned more towards the liberal base, and they're now appealing to the things that a certain audience wants to hear. Politicians know that, and they appear where the people who are going to favor them will be watching. So for instance, if you're Fox and you have a Republican base, and you know there's going to be a Republican primary or a Republican election before you even get to a general election, you got to get on Fox because they're the people you want to appeal to. So initially, when you're talking about primary elections, you're going to see the Democrats lining up on CNN and the Republicans on Fox. Now, sure, there's crossover, but this is what happens. So you as a viewer, and this is really what matters, if you come in and you're watching one station, you're going to get one view. And your view of the world will be driven by that one station. You've got a station that says the more dramatic I can make things, the better ratings I get, the better numbers I get. They're going to ramp it up. So what you see, even with the President of the United States, and it could be President Obama, it could be President Trump, it could go back to President Bush, and to an extent you saw some of it with Clinton, but they were the early years. What you really get, essentially, is anything that Trump does right now as president, or Obama did, is viewed under a different type of lens depending on what you're watching. Now, normally that's interesting. It's a business model that's no different than MTV, ESPN, HBO. It's what Netflix and Amazon, what they're all doing. It's entertainment. It's not news. What happens is that normally can work. But when you're dealing with something really serious and we get these serious issues, it's important that both sides unify. And they have to a large extent on big issues. But with this pandemic, it's not working out that way. Think about it. We have a virus that basically doesn't care who anybody is. It aggressively attacks people. It works the same way every time. Doesn't matter if you're Republican, doesn't matter if you're Democrat, doesn't matter if you're American, doesn't matter if you're from China. It works the same way. And what it does is it gets into a human being's body, and in certain individuals, it can kill them. We now know it affects, obviously, the elderly. It affects people who have pre-existing conditions, but it's also now sweeping through 30 and 40-year-olds and causing problems because of the clot formation. It's even affecting young children and babies. But depending on what you watch, you may or may not see that. Add one more factor, and that's the President of the United States. I'm always respectful about our presidents, and I'm going to remain respectful because it's important as a physician that I really have an opinion about health, not about politics. So you hopefully will never know what I think about any politicians. What I will tell you about presidents is things they do. For instance, I don't like the fact that President Trump, at least at this point, isn't wearing a mask. I think it's a bad example. But I also don't like when other presidents, President Obama did things, I think they were bad examples. So I go across the board. But I only think of when it relates to health. That being said, understand that President Trump comes out of the TV industry. He understands this. He gets this. He had a highly rated show on NBC television, and he was surrounded by people who gave him advice, so he knows about television. So the president actually understands the model. When he does things that are dramatic, he actually knows he can affect the news cycle. If he wants to distract, he can distract the news cycle. If he wants to make a point, he can. And if you remember, early on in his presidency, out of nowhere, he started attacking the press. That was intentional. I don't even know what he really thinks about the press, if it even bothers him. Frankly, I think he understands the value of using them to achieve goals. But that philosophy is actually starting to hurt things because in a pandemic, you need consistency. So why am I babbling about the business model of CNN, the business model of Fox, and the President of the United States' view of the media? Well, first to tell you, I don't think they all dislike each other like they say. I think this is all great because it makes everybody do well and achieve their goals. Unfortunately, in this case, the goals of CNN, the goals of Fox, and the goals of the president are not necessarily lined up with the goals of you and your family, which is staying healthy in COVID-19. I am not saying in any way that these people and these organizations are trying to make you sick. They are not. But they also are not necessarily focusing on what you and your family need to know. And that is why I'm going to say this one more time, and please try to listen. Okay, not as a Republican, a Democrat, a liberal thinker, or a conservative thinker. Think about the virus and make your own decision for you and your family. But as we open up the country, understand that 6-foot social distancing is critical to try to prevent that virus spreading through droplet nuclei coming out of people's mouths. That wearing a mask when you are anywhere near other people makes sense because it protects you and it protects other people from a virus. The virus will kill you whether you're very religious or you're not. It will kill you whether you are liberal or conservative. It will kill you if it gets into your system and you just happen to have an immune system that's more vulnerable. And if your immune system's not more vulnerable, it won't kill you. It doesn't matter what CNN says. It doesn't matter what Fox says. It doesn't matter what the president says. It doesn't matter if the president wears a mask or not. It doesn't matter if you believe in civil rights or if you believe in the freedom to do whatever you want. It doesn't matter to the virus. And if you can understand that for you, your family, and your loved ones, you will do better. Because I will tell you, as a physician, I'm not in the political game. I've been there and I've done that with television. I've had a lot of fun. I don't need it anymore. What I'm telling you is I want to do all I can to help you guys be as healthy as you can with the knowledge we have. Nothing political, not worrying about ad revenue, not worrying about anything, but people getting better. So just please try to listen to that information, keep it to your heart, and make your decisions. Thank you so much.